everybody, welcome back. My name is Mel and I'm not ready for this video. Are you ready for this video? So today we're going to be talking about Continuation Station, all of the series that I'm not caught up on that still have further books to go in the series. So Editing Mel just popping in real quick to say that the next Final Book Support Group readathon is actually going on in the first 2 weeks of May. I will link Steph's announcement video down below in case you guys are watching this before then and you do want to check out that readathon. I think she's going to do one every 2 months or something like that. So anyway, I did want to just mention that since Continuation Station is like one of the terminologies in her readathon and it inspired this video. So this is going to take a while. I'm sitting here looking at this stack and I am absolutely terrified. I'm going to try to section it off to make it a little bit easier for you guys to skip through if there's only certain genres or age groups that you're interested in. I'm not probably going to be going through every individual book and a lengthy synopsis because there are so many here that would take literally years. So I guess let's just go ahead and get started. So I'm going to start first with the graphic novels because there are really only 3 of those that I'm continuing at this time. The first one is a fan favorite. It's Saga. This is a sci-fi graphic novel that is well loved. I'm not really going to go into a ton of what it's about because I feel like everybody knows, but Saga is my first graphic novel. Then I have recently really gotten into Lock and Key. I'm on volume 3 of this one. That's where I'm at out of the, I believe, 6 that I need to catch up on. And this is a horror graphic novel that's actually been recently made into a TV show, and I'm obsessed with the TV show. Then we have Rat Queens. I'm on volume 2 of this one. I just read the first one and absolutely loved it. This is a high fantasy, swashbuckling, feminist series. Okay, then I guess let's move on to romance because I don't have a ton of those either. The first is the Brutal Birthright series. So keep in mind, I'm not always going to be holding up the volume or the book that I'm up to because I don't necessarily own all of them, but I'm going to show you at least one book in the series and then I'll tell you which book that I'm up to in that series. So moving on to romance, the first one is the Brutal Birthright series by Sophie Lark. I am to book 3. This is book 1. This is a mafia romance and it leans dark but not too dark and I'm really enjoying it. Then we have the Dark Olympus series. This is the book I'm on, book 2, Electric Idol. This is another dark romance series that leans more contemporary but has ever so teeny tiny bits of fantasy elements in it. It's about the pantheon, the gods, but the gods are more like figureheads than anything with actual power. Then we have another Katie Robert. The one I'm up to is Worthy Opponent. This is the Wicked Villain series, which is set in the same world as Dark Olympus, but in a different city. These follow Disney characters as villains and their relationships. I actually lied. I'm up to The Beast. I have finished Worthy Opponent, so I'm up to book 4 on this one, I believe. Okay, and now moving on to the thriller mystery series that I need to continue. There are really not a ton of these because a lot of mystery thrillers are standalones, they're not series. So the first one that I think I'm going to be continuing is Snowblind by... That's not the series name, but Snowblind by Ragnar Johansson. This is a series about a young guy that has become a detective in this small Iceland town and nothing ever happens there, but when he arrives, suddenly 2 people have been murdered. I'm on book 2 of this series. I'm still trying to decide if I'm going to continue it, but as of right now, I think so. Then we have one that I read a long time ago, and so I'm not sure if I'm going to continue because I would need to reread the first book. That's The Girl in 6E by A.R. Tor. This is about a cam girl that locks herself away in her home because she wants to murder people. And the last one that I have is the Harry Hole series. This is a very famous one by Joe Nesbo. I'm on book 2 of this one as well. I have heard that the series really doesn't get good until book 3, but I'm purist. I wanted to start at the beginning, so I'm up to book 2 on this one. Okay, looking at this stack, I think let's move on to the middle grade series that I need to continue. The first up is The Amber Glass by Philip Pullman. This is a well-beloved middle grade young adult series about Lila, who has a demon that is kind of like an extension of herself. Again, there's been a TV show made on this one. I am up to The Amber Glass, and this is book 2. Then we have Pages & Co. by Anna James. I am also on this book. This is the second book, The Lost Fairy Tales. This is about a young girl that can travel into books and into fairy tales and goes on adventures. I enjoyed the first one. I think that it wasn't the best middle grade that I've ever read, but I did have a good time, so I plan to continue. Next, we have The Bewitching of Evelyn Jones by Phil Hicks. As of right now, this is a duology, so it really probably should have been in my previous video, not series continuation station, but I am up to book 2 on this one. It could end up being a longer series, so I think that's why it's here. This is like a horror middle grade. Then we have The Beloved Frostheart by Jamie Littler. I am on book 2 of this series as well. I really enjoyed book 1. It is about a young boy who can sing tales and bring forth leviathans. And I had a great time with this one. Another well-beloved series that I desperately need to continue. Then we have A Storm of Sisters by Michelle Harrison. This is the last book out, so once again, it should have been in my other video, but I am hoping that she does continue this series. I have a great time with it. It's about the 3 Wintersham sisters and the chaos and trouble that they can manage to get into for a little pinch of magic. Then we have Lockwood & Co. series. The one that I am up to is book 3. I believe this is book 2. And it is about a series of ghost investigators. And they get themselves into a lot of trouble. And there are like different levels of ghost. It is a great time. It's more of like a paranormal mystery thriller type book. And I need to continue desperately. Then we have Over the Woodward Wall by Deborah A. Baker. Once again, I'm not sure. I think this is going to be a trilogy and I'm up to book 2. I don't own it yet, but I really need to get it. This is the book within a book for middle game, but it really stands on its own. It's its own series and it does lean a lot more middle grade. It reminds me a lot of Alice in Wonderland and it's a great time. They're also super short, so they read really fast. Then we have Flashback by Shannon Messenger. This is part of the Keepers of the Lost City series. The last book I think comes out in November. I am on book 7, I believe, so I just really need to catch up before the last book comes out in November. This is a book about Sophie who is drawn into the elven world not knowing that she was an elf, and she has a lot of powers and is very unique. Then we have How to Train Your Dragon by Cressida Cowell. I almost said How to Train Your Gavin. Thank you, Gavin, for that. I'm not 100% sure if I'm continuing this series. I did have a really good time and thought it was fun, but I just wasn't overly captivated like I was in The Wizards of Once. So if you think I should continue this series, let me know. I am on book 2 of this one. Then we have the Inkheart series by Cornelia Funk. This one is another beloved middle grade series that's been out for a very long time. I did read these when I was a kid, but remember absolutely nothing. And then when they came out with these new beautiful covers, I really wanted to reread them. I would be on book 2 of this series. And this is about a girl whose dad can read characters into our real world. Then we have A Winter House by Ben Gaston. This is a mystery, little bit of fantasy middle grade series, and I'm on book 2 of this series. I can't remember if there's 2 or 3 books, but it was a good time. It wasn't quite what I was expecting, but I do think I'm going to continue. And then we have Amelia Fang by Lauren Ellen Anderson. These books are so much fun. They're so cute. They're so quick. It is a series where Amelia Fang is a vampire and the evil creatures are actually good and they're terrified of things like unicorns. It's really sweet. I'm on book 3 of this series. Okay, then I think we should move on to the middle grade, which is next. The first one I have is the A Good Girl's Guide to Murder series by Holly Jackson. I am on book 2 in the series. This is a young adult mystery series about a girl that is going to try to investigate one of the cold case murders in her town for the school paper and gets herself into a lot of trouble. Then we have the Spellslinger series by Sebastian de Castell. This is, I believe, book 4. Yeah, this is book 4, and I'm actually up to book 5, I believe, in this series. I would have to double check, but it follows our main character, Kellen, who has a really hard time doing magic, and he's kind of the outcast, and he gets involved with a card slinger and with a squirrel cat, and it's a ton of chaos, but a ton of fun. Next up is A Crooked Kingdom by Lee Bardugo. This is the last one in a duology, so it probably should have been in the other video. There are going to be a lot of these. And everybody knows what the Six of Crows is about. I'm not going to go over this. I just need to read it. And the last young adult that I need to mention is the Aurora Cycle by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. This is a trilogy and I am on book 2. I really need to just continue and finish this out, especially since the trilogy is finished. This is a sci-fi young adult about a girl that is found in a spaceship and a guy that has to get a bunch of riffraff together to man his ship. Then I think let's move on to the adult sci-fi. The first one that I have to mention is the Vicious series by V.E. Schwab. Right now, this is just 2 books, but I think it is going to soon become 3. I am on book 2, Villains, of this series. It is about people that figure out if you come really, really close to death, then you can basically get superpowers, but not everything goes as planned, and this kind of follows the villains of that story, or what would be villains if they had superpowers. And then we have the next in the Murderbot series by Martha Wells. This is Network Effect. It is the one that I believe that I am on. Most of the other part of the series are novellas, but this is the first full-length novel, so I think that's why it's taken me a little longer to get to it. This is a sci-fi series about a very confused murderbot who just wants to sit and watch their sitcoms all day. I enjoy these. I don't love them quite as much as everybody else does, but I definitely do want to continue the series. And then we have The Expanse by James S.A. Corey. I am actually on book 4. I recently read this one, book 3, earlier this month. I love this series. It is an epic space opera sci-fi that is so much fun, very intricate, and I cannot wait to see where this series goes. Okay, then I think moving on to our second to last category, and the last category will be by far the biggest. Let's go into the fantasy romance category. The first one that I have to mention is the second book in the Zodiac Academy series. I recently started this one this month as well. I didn't really like book 1 hardly at all, but I have been told that if you continue, they do get better, especially around book 3. So I'm just going to try to power through the first 2, and hopefully everybody isn't lying to me. The next one we have is Solace of Sharp Claws by Lena Petekrik. This is the second in the Fae Guardian series, or the Wolf Smut series, as Becca's Discord fondly likes to call it. I'm enjoying these books. I'm actually reading this one right now, so it is the one that I am up to, and it is about the shifters that are guardians of the world, and the world basically that we knew ended when metal, plastic, all of that went away, and the Well of Magic was replenished, and now we live in a world of Fae and magic. Then we have what will be The River of Shadows by Karina Holly. This will be a series. I don't know if it's 2 or 3 books. And I'm actually reading this one right now. I'm not 100% sure if I will be continuing the series because I'm not super far into this one and not absolutely obsessed with it. But just in case, I figured I would mention it here. This is a fantasy romance following Finnish mythology. The next one that I really need to take the sticker off of is a very long-going series, the Black Dagger Brotherhood series by J.R. Ward. This is book like 16, 17, something like that. I believe this is the one that I am up to, and it's a long-going series about a group of vampires that are kind of the saviors and the guardians of our world, and it's a ton of fun, and I do need to continue it. Then we have the Plated Prisoner series by Raven Kennedy. I am actually on Gleam, which is book 3 in the series. This is a fantasy romance series about Auren, who was taken by King Midas and is now completely encased in gold other than her teeth and her eyes, and she's kind of King Midas's favorite, but one day when he goes off to battle a neighboring kingdom, she goes to meet him and her carriage gets taken over by a group of bandits, and it just kind of spirals from there. I enjoy this series. I am looking for the romance. I still haven't found it yet, so hopefully in book 3 we'll find a little bit more of the romance. And then we have the Bridge Kingdom series by Danielle L. Jensen. This is a fantasy romance with a heavy political war subplot. I enjoyed book 1. I think it's going to be 6 books total with duologies, 3 duologies in it. So I need to continue with book 2 in the first duology. And I enjoyed this one. I didn't absolutely love it, so I'm not sure when I'm going to continue, but I do plan to continue. And then we have another one that I started this month. I've started way too many series in April, and that's the Savage Land series by Stacey Marie Brown. This is another world of Fae, where Fae and humans are kind of at odds with each other, and our main character is not royalty, but a higher up in the palace, and when she gets caught stealing, she gets sent to the Fae prison, and it just doesn't go well. I'm not 100% sure what the series plot is going to be on this one. I had a decent enough time with it. It wasn't my ultimate favorite. The writing style needed some work, but I do plan to continue with this series, and I would be on book 2. Okay, so let's start with the longest stack, which is going to be my adult fantasy stack. And just to buckle up, there's a few of these. The first one that we need to talk about is The Library Unwritten by A.J. Hackowitz. I am on book 2 of this trilogy. This was not what I was expecting. It is a series about author's unfinished works are in the library, and when one of the main characters in the unfinished works escapes, they have to go hunt him down. There are demons. It's Hell's Library. It was fun. It just wasn't quite what I was expecting. And then we have the Lycanus trilogy by James Islington. I am on book 2 of this series. I recently started it in March, but it is a chunker, so I need to try to get through these, especially since they are so complicated. I can't go over in extreme depth what this is about because it is complex and would take me a while, but just know that this is an adventure, epic high fantasy following a group of friends, and it's your standard high fantasy, but it's complex and a good time. And then we have the Gunslinger series by Stephen King. I'm on book 2 of this series. I'm still a little undecided if I'm going to continue. I enjoyed book 1 better than the other Stephen King works that I've read, and not many. This is like a portal fantasy / sci-fi. I'm not really sure what all it's trying to do, but I have heard people really love it and really enjoy it, and the ending is very decisive. Either you love it or you hate it. So I kind of want to get to the end just to find out what everybody's talking about. And then I am on book 2 of the Chorus of Dragons series by Jen Lyons. This is a very confusing, intricate fantasy series that involves dragons and cool weapons. And the main story, I think, follows our main character, Kieran, who has been taken away from his family. He was kind of part of the royal family. These books are told in a very different way, and I think this one actually follows a different set of characters, so I really just need to power through this one and keep going before I forget everything that was in it. Then the next series that I do plan to hopefully continue next month, because I absolutely love book 1, and I think I've been putting off book 2 just because I'm scared of it, and that is Valor by John Gwynne. This is the Faithful and the Fallen series. I loved Malice. After I got about halfway through, it was an ultimate favorite. It is about the lines between good and evil and the sides that people choose and the parts of their destinies and where they're bound to, who they're bound to serve. And I had a great time. Loved book 1. Cannot wait to continue on with book 2. Next, we have The Wheel of Time, and I am on the 3rd book, The Dragon Reborn. Not going to go over what The Wheel of Time is. You know what The Wheel of Time is, but somebody yell at me to read The Dragon Reborn. Just yell at me. Yell at me to do it. Right now. Okay, thanks. Then we're moving on to the, I think it's called The Burning series by Evan Winter. I am on Fires of Vengeance, which is the 2nd book in the series. And the reason I think I haven't picked it up yet is because we know it's going to be 4 books, but it's been like 2 years and we don't really have any more information on book 3. So I'm a little bit concerned that we're never going to get the finished series. But this is an African-inspired fantasy series with some dragons and a very heavy revenge plot. And then we have the Witcher series by Adriz Sapkowski. I probably just butchered that name. This is a translated work. Everybody knows what The Witcher is. I am on technically book 2, but if you're reading them in order with the first 2 books of short stories, it would be the 4th book in the series. So I just need to go ahead and continue with these. And then I'm including this even though technically it's the beginning of another series, but it's a companion and a continuation, and that is either Mistborn Era 2 Book 1 or Mistborn Book 4, depending on how you want to look at it, by Brandon Sanderson. I really need to read this. It's not very long. It is gunslingers set in the Mistborn world. I think I'm going to have a good time with it, but I need to read it. Okay, continuing on with stack number 2, we have the Temeraire series by Naomi Novik, and I would be on book 2 of this series. I just finished book 1 like last week. This is about dragons and their role in the Napoleonic Wars between Britain and France. I enjoyed this first one. It is very character driven, but thankfully one of those characters is a dragon. So I'm interested to see how later in the series we pick up more of the political war-based themes. Then we have the Book of the Ancestor by Mark Lawrence. I am on book 2, The Grey Sister, and I will be reading this one this month. This is a trilogy about Nona, who lives in a world that is encased in ice, and there are different generations. There are 4 different generations that each have powers depending on which one you are from, but Nona is part of 3. And then we have one that I don't remember if I put in my previous series because it would have been, now it is part of the final book support group finishing series, but at the time where I thought I was going to be filming this one, it would be Continuation Station. Anyway, that is The Bone Ship's Wake by R.J. Barker. This is the last in the Tidechild series. I really just want to get this finished. They're not terrible books, but they're just not my cup of tea. This is about a guy named Joran who is on a black ship, and black ships are used to fight the war against the neighboring kingdoms. They're built out of dragon bones. Then we have the second book in the Bound and the Broken series by Ryan Cahill. This is Of Darkness and Light. This is a series that I did not know if I was going to be continuing when I read book 1, but by the end of book 1 and after reading the novella, I just really loved it. It is a series about dragons, and our main character is the not chosen one. This book is chunky. Thankfully, I think the font is a little bit bigger in this one than it was in the previous one, and book 3, I believe, comes out sometime later this year, so I do need to continue it. And then we have The Splinter King by Mike Brooks. The third book in this series, I think, comes out in September, so I need to catch up. This is a series that's kind of hard to explain, but the first book follows a group of characters at a place called Blackkeep. They have land dragons, and the raiders come to their shores and ask for asylum because there is like a demon that's trying to take over their lands. Okay, moving on to the last 5 books. The first one is The Swordsman's Lament by G.M. White. This is a series that I actually just started this month as well, and it reminds me a lot of, like Cassidy said, the Greatcoat series. It is a fantasy mystery about the King's Champion who is getting older and looking to retire, and he's looking for his replacement, but then he is accused of murder. This is I believe, going to be a novella series, and the second one comes out in August, so I definitely will be continuing it. Then we have The Black Hawks by David Ragg. This again would have been on the other series if I had started it, but since I hadn't started at the time, I'm just going to include it here. This is a duology. I will be on the last book in the duology, The Righteous, I believe. And this is about a band of mercenaries that gets a job to carry the prince from one area of the world to the other, and they get attacked and stuff along the way. And then we have The Dresden Files by Jim Butcher. I am on book 8, I believe. This is 7, and I don't own 8 yet, so I need to get it. The Dresden series is about our main character, Dresden, who is a wizard, and every book so far has been more like a, creature of the week kind of feature, and I am hoping that we get a little bit more of an overarching plot soon, but it follows pretty much every character or every creature in mythology you can think of and how Dresden is going to defeat them. And then we have Gideon the Ninth by Tasmin Muir. I'm on book 2, Harrow the Ninth in this series. This is another one that I wasn't sure if I was going to be continuing, but people told me that if the humor and stuff was what kept me held back in book 1, that I should go ahead and try book 2. This is like a sci-fi fantasy series with necromancers and space, and the first book was like a mystery, so I am intrigued to continue. I think the premise was interesting, so we're gonna keep going. And then the last one is another one of those book 1 in the series, or book so-and-so if you consider like the whole world its own series. That is The Realm of the Elderling. I am on the first book in the Fitz and the Fool trilogy. This is actually the last book in the Rainwilds trilogy, but I don't own the Fitz and the Fool trilogy yet. And this is just, it's a time. It's a time. We are currently on the last series published so far, although I think there's going to be another one. And this last series follows Fitz and the Fool, and Fitz has been through a lot in his life. I'm not going to go into extreme detail about what this last set will be about because it would spoil everything up to this point, but there are elderlings, there are dragons, there is magic and animal companions. Be prepared for pain if you decide to start this series because Robin Hobb does not hold back. Okay, I don't know how many that was. I didn't count. It was way too dang many, I can tell you that much. So someone in the comments yell at me to read some series over the next couple of months because I apparently start series and then just do not finish them. So I've got to get better about that this year. If there are any of these series that you're like, yes, you absolutely need to continue that right now, it is a grade A series, please let me know down in the comments because I need some help deciding what to prioritize out of all of these. There are just too many to hit all at once, so I would love you guys' help in what I should continue. If you want a vlog of my thoughts continuing any of these series, or if there's some that are short enough that I could do it in like a week or two, let me know that down below as well. But I think that covers everything. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, please hit the thumbs up button and subscribe if you want to, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!